Americans are struggling to come to terms tonight with the deadliest multiple shooting in the country's modern history. A young gunman confirmed a short time ago as a student of Asian origin who may have acted with a second suspect went on a rampage through a college campus, leaving 32 people dead, then shooting himself. Survivors are accusing authorities of failing to lock down the campus after the first two victims were found. Local officials have defended their actions, insisting they could not have foreseen the carnage that followed. At the Virginia Tech University, a sprawling campus in the small town of Blacksburg, southwest of Washington.
A student's mobile phone captures the gunshots that claimed 33 lives, including the gunman's, and left 26 others injured in a killing spree that went on for hours. Most of the victims here at Virginia Tech University were students. The day's terrible events began to unfold shortly after 7 a.m. On one side of the sprawling campus, two young people were found shot dead at a residential building. 2 hours later, more gunshots were heard, this time from an engineering building on the other side of campus. Police arrived to find the doors chained shut from the inside. By the time they broke in, it was already too late.
All of a sudden, I just hear these fires going off and all these gunshots, and everyone just started screaming, "Run!" and everyone ran across the drill field.
This man describes his sister's horrific injuries.
She had a bullet wound that went into her stomach, filleted her liver.
Another student described how the gunman burst into her German class. She said he was young and Asian and dressed like a Boy Scout. Of her class of 25, only she and 3 others survived. Students in other classes jumped out of second and third-story windows to escape.
Today, the university was struck with a tragedy that we consider of monumental proportions.
It's not known if the gunman was a student. Police say it's not even clear if the two separate shootings are linked. And there are many other questions. Like, why didn't police close the university after the initial shooting?
The information we had on the first incident led us to make the decision that it was an isolated event to that building, and the decision was made not to cancel classes at that time.
A deadly miscalculation.
I think we should have been informed, and they probably should have canceled classes. Obviously, there was a threat on campus, and we had no idea. They put a lot of students at risk.
President Bush said the nation was in shock.
Schools should be places of safety and sanctuary and learning. When that sanctuary is violated, the impact is felt in every American classroom and every American community.
11 years since Australia lost 35 lives in the Port Arthur massacre, Prime Minister John Howard tonight expressed his shock and sadness over the incident.
It is the case that 11 years ago we took action to limit the availability of guns, and we showed a national resolve that the gun culture that is such a negative in the United States would never become a negative in our country.
Tonight, the victims of the Virginia Tech University shooting were remembered at moving candlelight vigils around the United States. Sarah Bamford, World News Australia.
The shootings have once again triggered debate over lax gun control laws in the United States. As memories of the Columbine school massacre and others are revived, many are asking why stricter laws have not been imposed. But a US poll shows that most people believe a person's upbringing contributes more to gun violence than the easy availability of guns.
Gun violence on another campus. A reminder of that grim morning at Columbine High School 8 years ago this week. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold killed 12 students and a teacher and wounded 24 others before turning the guns on themselves that day. A public outcry followed. Violent video games and movies were blamed, as were goth culture, heavy metal music, and bullying. Then President Bill Clinton pushed for stricter gun control. Harris and Klebold bought their guns at a gun show, which are exempt from federal background check laws. So Clinton called for the Republican-controlled Congress to close the loophole. It did not, which still angers Marjorie Lindholm, at the time a sophomore at Columbine.
We're the ones who can change this, and nothing's changed since Columbine. You know, and it does make me sick. It makes me physically ill.
A massacre in Texas in 1991 prompted a complete opposite reaction for greater access to guns. At a Luby's cafeteria in Killeen, Texas, a gunman came in and killed 23 people. Susanna Hupp, who survived the attack, had left her handgun in her car so as not to violate the law against carrying a gun in public. Convinced her parents might still be alive if she'd had her gun with her, Hupp led the charge to change the law to allow Texans to carry concealed weapons. Whatever remedies they seek, Americans regularly react with revulsion to shootings such as today's. But so far, these types of crimes have not fundamentally altered public opinion on guns. Polls show Americans support stricter gun control, but they are more inclined to blame these incidents on the ways parents raise their children or on popular culture than on the availability of guns.
That report on a litany of horrors in the United States from Jake Tapper of ABC America.